incredible and beautiful daf ahead of us. So page 10, we are actually picking up in Yirtzeh Hashem from Tes Amud Beis 9b, and we are picking up on the bottom of 9b, Amr Abaye. 2, 4, 6 lines up from the bottom. We begin by thanking our sponsors this morning. We thank the Learner Mishpacha for dedicating all of the shiurim and drushos this month in memory of Mrs. Dina Lerner Gerber, Dina Bas Yehuda Leib. We thank Paul and Kathy Pollack for dedicating all of the shiurim this week in memory of Paul's grandparents, Zechariah ben Zechariah and Dina Bas Pasach. And we thank Avi Zeisman for dedicating the shiurim this week in memory of his father, Michael ben Yechiel. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the neshamas will have an aliyah and the families a nechama. And Abba said, with that, let us begin. Beautiful Gemara. So, if you remember again in yesterday's daf, we ended off with the idea that once you begin, so remember the Mishnah told us that halacha l'maisa, once the time for Mincha Gidola, well, at least that's what we're holding right now, once the time for Mincha Gidola comes around, so a person should not begin certain activities which have the ability to become prolonged activities. Even though on a technical level they shouldn't be long activities, but there's the possibility for them to become prolonged, and therefore a person may go ahead and end up missing the zman for Mincha. However, the Mishnah said once you begin those particular activities, one would not be obligated to stop. So remember again, so the Shaila was, then the Gemara was dealing with, so at what point in time is it considered that the activity itself has begun? So if you remember again, when it came to the Su'udah, when it came to the meal, we had a difference in practice between the Jews of Bavel and the Jews of Eretz Yisrael. For the Jews of Bavel, mealtime began when you unbuckled your belt. That was indicative of their fashion. They used to wear their belts very closely, very, very tightly. They would wear it very tightly. So when they would sit down for the Suda, they would unbuckle their belt. And in Eretz Yisrael, they didn't wear their belts like that. And therefore in Eretz Yisrael, the beginning of the Suda was when you washed, from the time of Netilas Yadayim. So says the Gemara, Amra Baye, Hani Chavrin, Pavloi. So we'll say for our Babylonian friends, Lemanda Amar Tfilas Arvis Rishus. So according to the opinion, we'll say, remember again, taking us back to our Shabbos days a little bit. So for the opinion that said that Maariv is a Rishus, that Maariv is optional, Kevan Deshara Lehemenese, Lo Matruchin Ale. So we'll say, if you hold, this is very interesting. So according to Abaye, if you hold that halacha l'maisa, Maariv is a rishus, then at the end of the day, once you go ahead and unbuckle your belt, so then we would not be matriach, we would not obligate you to go ahead and daven Maariv anymore. Because again, once a person unbuckled their belt, so the Suda began. Since the Suda began, certainly for Maariv, which is a Rishus, you wouldn't be obligated to go ahead and stop in order to daven Maariv. But according to the opinion who says that Maariv is obligatory, then halacha l'maaseh, even if you unbuckled your belt, you would be obligated to go back. Or I would say you would be obligated to stop and to daven Maariv. I say, really, is that true? But mincha, according to everyone, is obligatory. Utnan, and we learned in mischilu in mafsikin. So how can you say that? Rabbi says here Abaye's statement. So Abaye is saying like this: for our friends in Eretz Yisrael, who for them ultimately remember the unbuckling of your belt. Unbuckling of your belt is halacha l'maisa, the beginning of the meal. If you hold, Abaye is suggesting, if you hold that Maariv is obligatory, if you hold that Maariv is rishus optional, then once you unbuckle your belt, you need not go and daven Maariv. But if you hold that Maariv is obligatory, even if you unbuckled your belt, you should go back and you should daven. To which the Gemara says, really, is that true? Our Mishnah is dealing with Mincha. Mincha is obligatory, and yet the Mishnah still says, if once you unbuckled your belt and got ready to go ahead and eat your meal, you don't have to stop for Mincha. To which the Gemara says, Va'amra bichanina mishiyatir chaguro. So top of Yud Amud Aleph, 10a, Hasam lo shchicha shichra. So we'll say here's going to be the distinction. When it comes to mincha, there's no concern regarding drunkenness. Hacha shchicha shichros. But also when it comes to Maariv, there is a concern ultimately again regarding drunkenness. So the Gemara is making an interesting distinction. I will say, just a reminder to the Chaverim, if you play with your backgrounds and you go ahead and you cause a distraction to your other chaverim. Mamish etz yasa scharo behefsedo. The goal of this is not to contribute more distractions. It's distracting as it is. The goal ultimately, again, is for us to mamish continue to learn. You could feel free to play with the Zoom chat when the shir is over. I'll leave that to Moshe and Jeremy. Give everybody unrestricted access. So the Gemara goes right there. So the Gemara says, Hasam lo shchicha shichros, hacha shchicha shichros. So we'll say, so distinction number one could be as follows. It could be that by Maariv, the halacha is that even if you unbuckled your belt, halacha l'maisa, you should still go back and daven Maariv immediately, because what's the concern? The concern is drunkenness. The concern is that ultimately, again, a person will go ahead and start their meal, drink wine, and not end up davening Maariv. But however, that concern doesn't really apply by Mincha. The assumption is that, especially if we're talking about Mincha Gidola midday, we're not concerned about drunkenness. Inami, the other possibility is, B'mincha, kevan dekvia leizman, zimna, mirsas v'lo asi lemifsha. The other possibility is that by Mincha, since Mincha has a set time, so people know that there's a window for Mincha. And because people know there's a window for Mincha, so halacha l'maaseh, they're not going to become to be negligent. So we're not concerned that if we allow a person to continue their meal, that halacha l'maaseh, they're going to become negligent and not daven Mincha. Ideally, we would rather they not start their meal. Let them daven Mincha first. But because there's a specific window, we know that even if we let them begin their meal, they'll ultimately daven Mincha. Arvis, Maariv, where the time for Maariv is the entire night, so we are concerned that a person will think he has plenty of time, and as a result, he may become totally derelict or negligent and not daven Maariv. So the Gemara is suggesting over here that an interesting distinction between Mincha and Maariv, that although by Mincha we've seen that although ideally you shouldn't begin a meal before you daven Mincha, and in an ideal world, you should first daven Mincha, then eat your meal, but once you started the meal, you can go ahead and finish it. There, according to Abaye, Maariv will be a little bit different. If you hold that Maariv is obligatory, it could be that by Maariv, even if you unbuckled your belt and have started your meal, you should stop, daven Maariv, and then continue the meal. Why the distinction? Two possibilities. Either because at night there's a possibility that a person is going to become drunk and as a result totally miss out on Maariv, or second possibility is that the window for Mincha is much more defined. And in general, when a person knows that he has a more defined window, therefore halacha l'maisa, he'll be much more careful in terms of making sure that he davens Maariv, which has a much longer window. A person may assume he has plenty of time and may ultimately miss the zman. So Maskef Rav Sheshes, Shichusa lemeisar heminei. So Rav Sheshes says like this: I don't understand, what is the big deal? You make it sound like as if once a person goes in and takes off his belt or unbuckles his belt, that it's such a big deal for him now to daven Maariv. What's the big deal? Even if he went ahead and unbuckled his belt, let him go ahead and just simply put it back on or rebuckle it and daven. What's the big deal? Va'od leikuhachi belitzli. Furthermore, again, let's say his belt is unbuckled. Why can't he just go ahead and daven with an unbuckled belt? To which the Gemara says mishum ne'emar, because the Gemara quotes over here the pasuk hikon likras elokecha Yisrael. So we'll say this becomes a very important discussion. The pasuk says, quoting the pasuk in Amos, hikon likras elokecha Yisrael. Prepare yourself to meet your God, Yisrael. Rabbi say this idea, and this is incredibly important, this idea that halacha l'maisa, when we daven, we should be dressed for the occasion. That when a person davens to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when a person greets the Ribono Shel Olam, that a person ultimately, again, must be in a proper state of preparedness. A person must be in a proper state of dress. A person must be in a way in which he's ready to go and greet the king. And I will say, this is really an incredible, you saw the Gemara tells stories about this. Rav bar Afuna, Rami Puzmiki Umatzli. Rav bar Afuna, when he would daven, he had special davening slippers. Davening slippers, those he has special shoes for davening. So he'd put on his davening slippers. So the Amar Hikol Nikras, because he would say ultimately, again, it's important to prepare yourself to go ahead and greet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So first of all, just to link this back. So the Gemara says that once you've gone ahead and unbuckled your belt, you're no longer really in a physical state of preparedness to daven. In other words, that when a person davens, their outfit should be together. To daven with an unbuckled belt is not really appropriate. Therefore, hikom nikras elokecha Yisrael. Rava shadi glima upachar yadeh. Rava, when he would daven, is actually very interesting. He would throw off his cloak and he would clasp his hands in front of the one together. Umatzin, he would daven. Amar ke'avda kamei mareh. He said, I'm davening like a servant before the master. So the cloak, which was a trapping of nobility, of importance, he would throw off his cloak when he would daven, because ultimately, again, what he was showing was, I'm not choshev in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm throwing off my cloak to come before God as a simple servant, clasping his hands like in a supplicatory posture. I'm davening before HaKadosh Baruch Hu like a servant before a master. Amar Rav Ashi, Chazina le Rav Kahana, ki ikatsara ba'alma. I used to see Rav Kahana when there was a tsar, when there was difficulty in the world. Shadi glimei upachar yadei. He would throw off his cloak and he would clasp his hands in front of him. Umasin, he would daven like that. Amar ka'avda kamei marei. And he would say, I am like a servant in the presence of my master. Ki shalmo. Ultimately, again, when there was peace in the world, Lovish umiskasi umisatef umatzli. He would wear his cloak, he would wrap himself, and he would daven. Amar hi kol mikras elokecha Yisrael. So we'll say ultimately again, you see Rav Kahana go ahead and dress in different ways and assume different postures during different times. When halacha l'maaseh there was peace in the world, he would daven almost more like in a state of nobility. When there was tsar in the world, he would daven more assuming the posture of an eved. So the Gibor say, but the idea being, and this is incredibly important, of hikom nikras elokecha Yisrael, that when you daven, you should be prepared and ultimately dressed in a particular way. And I will say, I think this is incredibly important for us as well, because sometimes, especially if a person has to daven b'yechidus, if a person is going to be davening, alone, like you put out in the WhatsApp message, physically alone but spiritually together. So sometimes it's kind of like casual davening. A person dresses down, and it's incredibly important that even if we're going to be davening not with a minyan and not in shul, hikom nikras elokecha Yisrael means that when you daven, a person should be dressed for the occasion. A person ultimately should be dressed in a way that highlights the importance of what it is that they're going to do. Rava Chazi Rav Hamnuna to come Arach B'Tzaluse. Rava saw Rav Hamnuna that Rav Hamnuna was taking a long time to daven. Amar. So this is actually fascinating. Rava got upset at Rav Hamnuna. He said, "Manichin chayi olam va'oskin b'chayisha." Are you going ahead and setting aside eternal life for the sake, ultimately, again, of momentary life? So I'll say, so what does this mean? So this is incredible. So remember, this is incredible. Rava's giving Musa to Rav Hamnuna because Rav Hamnuna is davening for too long. That's the Musa he's giving. Why? Because he says, tefillah is about your life in this world, right? You daven for things that you need in this world. Whatever it is that you need. You need your parnasa, you need your health, your family, whatever it is. Torah gives you zechuyos, gives you merit in this world and in the next. So Rava was perplexed that Rav Hamnuna was taking so long to daven at the expense of his time for learning. So he said, how could it be that you're going ahead and setting aside eternality, Torah, for the sake of davening just for things in this world? So the Gemara says, "V'hu savar," and ultimately, what did Rav Hamnuna feel? Rav Hamnuna felt, "Zman tefillah l'chod, uzman Torah l'chod." I will say a very profound statement. Rav Hamnuna felt there's a time for Torah and there's a time for tefillah, and the time for tefillah does not take away for the time for Torah, just as the time for Torah does take away from the time of tefillah. I was supposed to say this is very profound. Rav Hamnuna ultimately felt like Shlomo HaMelech said, Lakol zman va'is. There is a time and a place for everything. A time and a place for everything. And everything has its makom, everything has its place, and everything has its time. Like Rav Kook, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, said, when you daven, daven, and when you learn, learn, and when you work, work. That so much of being successful in life is making sure that halacha l'maisa, you give complete attentiveness to whatever it is that you're engaged in. Whatever you're doing, give it 1,000%. So the Gemara goes on. Rabbi Yirmiyah havi yasik kamei Rabbi Zera v'havo aski b'shmaisa. So let's listen to this. Rabbi Yirmiyah was sitting in front of Rabbi Zera, and they were learning together. Naga litzaluye. So what happened? So Rabbi Yirmiyah, the time for davening was coming to an end. So the zman for tefillah was coming to an end. V'hava kamasai Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah was like getting up. He was moving around because ultimately, again, he was getting ready to daven. Kakari Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera got upset at Rabbi Yirmiyah. Then he said about him the pasuk from Mishlei Meisir Ozno Mishmoa Torah Gam Tfilasa Toeva. He who literally again moves his ear from listening to Torah, even his prayer is an abomination. So both say same idea. You see that Rabbi Zera felt that when a person is engaged in Torah, one should not give up Torah for the sake of tefillah. One should not give up Torah for the sake of tefillah. So we'll say, so remember again, obviously, we're talking about people who Chazal categorized as Torasam Nasam. These people were constantly and perpetually preoccupied with Torah. So it's possible that when a person is Torasam Nasam, a person is constantly and perpetually preoccupied with Torah, so perhaps such a person like that, maybe his tefillah does take kind of like a back seat, ultimately again, to his Torah. Obviously, for us who live in a world of both, this doesn't apply. But again, you see how dedicated these individuals were to Torah, that literally it was almost as if their tefillah was encroaching on their Torah. So the Gemara goes weiter. We'll say, so remember again, let's go back. First of all, before we go on, I'll just point out that Tosfos points out something fascinating. Tosfos writes, if you look at Tosfos Rami Puzmiki, so remember again, when this whole discussion started, so we began by saying that Rava bar Rav Huna put on special slippers and he davened. So Tosfos just points out here something very important. Rami Puzmiki, mikan yesh lo chiach she'im lehispalal yachev ela betes ba'av b'yom kippurim. So from here we learn something very important. You do not daven barefoot. You don't daven barefoot. Fascinating. So remember, you don't daven barefoot except on Tisha B'Av or on Yom Kippur. So we'll say, amazingly enough, from the fact, ultimately again, that Rava bar Rav Huna put on slippers, you see from here that one of the things by tefillah is you can't daven barefoot. Okay, just an interesting aside. So we'll say, remember again, one of the things the Mishnah said is that Allah Halamaisi shouldn't begin to adjudicate a court case prior to davening mincha, but if you started, you need not stop. So says the Gemara Sunu, what's considered to be the start of the court case? Me'emas hayas chalas din. Rav Yirmiyah Rabbi Yonah Chad Amar Mishayisatfu Hadayonin. The Chad Amar Mishayiftechu Ba'alei Din. So one opinion said when the Dayonim wrap themselves. So Rashi points out over here that the Dayonim, the judges, used to wrap themselves in a cloak, in a talis. So interestingly enough, if you look at Rashi, so Rashi says over here, Dayonin misatrin betalisan kisheposchin bedin ne'ema shchina v'shelo yifnu roshan lekanu teidaitem yushav eslein. So they would wrap themselves. So wrapping themselves ultimately again was a form of reverence and awe for the Shechina. And it was also that they should not get distracted. So that like the talis, you can imagine the cloak was pulled over their head so that they shouldn't get distracted. It's actually interesting, in Sanhedrin we'll see there's a discussion that sometimes, according to some, they'd actually pull the talis over their eyes so that they would be unable to go ahead and see the litigants. Okay? But the idea is, when is Haschalas Din? When is the beginning of judgment? Ultimately, again, when the Dayanim put on their talis. V'chad Amar, Mishiyiftechu Baledinin. And others explain that it's when the litigants begin their opening statements. V'lo pligi, hada aski va'asu bedina, hada lo aski va'asu bedina. And it's not a contradiction. Again, if the judges are just getting started, they haven't adjudicated anything, so the beginning of din is when they wrap themselves, but sometimes judges go case to case. So if they already wrap themselves, then the beginning of the particular court case would be when the litigants advance their respective arguments. Good. But we'll say second wide line, Yud Amud Aleph, middle of the line. Rav Ami, Rabbi Asi, Havi Yossi, Vegarsi, Beni Amudei. So Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi would be learning between the pillars. And once an hour, they would go ahead and literally again bang on the doorpost. If anyone has a din Torah, anyone has a legal issue, come and bring it before us. and we are happy to adjudicate it. So Rabbi say this is kind of an introduction to the section over here that's going to deal with the importance of adjudicating cases in a correct and just fashion. So you see, Rabbi Asi here they were learning the entire time. They're learning the time, but yet again there was this idea of dafka going ahead, wanting to adjudicate cases in the appropriate way. So they would go ahead and literally make an announcement once an hour. Whoever has a din that they have to adjudicate, come to us. Rav Chisda v'Rab Bar Avuna haviyasi bedina. So we'll say Rav Chisda and Rab Bar Avuna were once sitting in adjudication of a particular case. Kuli Yoma, and they were judging cases mamish the entire day. Havakachalish li baihu. And they became weakened. And they became weakened because they literally, again, they didn't have, Chalish li bai, Rashi says over here, Mitztarin shelo asku osa hayom b'Torah. So both said, this is actually very interesting. So Rav Chisda Bar Avuna were sitting and adjudicating cases the entire day. And they became chalosh libayu in this context means they became distressed. And why were they distressed? Ultimately, again, because they felt that they missed out on learning the entire day. That here they were sitting and adjudicating cases, and instead they were not learning Torah. So the Gemara says, so what happened? So the Gemara says, Tanaluhu Reb Chia barav midifti. So Reb Chia barav, in an effort to make them feel better, said as follows. Vayam ot ha'am al Moshe min haboker ad ha'erev. Literally, also in describing the day of Moshe Rabbeinu had a queue of people, a line of people standing in front of Moshe Rabbeinu to adjudicate cases from the morning until the evening. Torah masai na'asis. But could it be that Moshe Rabbeinu was involved in judging the people the entire day? If he's involved in judging the people the entire day, so what is going to happen ultimately again to his Torah? Torah masai nasis elalom lacha. Rather, it teaches us kol dayan shedan din emes la'amito. Any judge who properly adjudicates a case, afilu sha'achos, even just 1 hour of the day, ma'ala alav akosov kilu na'aseh shutav la'kodesh baruch hu b'maaseh bereishis. Shabbos say, judging a case correctly, adjudicating a dispute in accordance with the Torah, it is as if such a judge has become a partner to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the process of creation. Where do we see this connection? Ksiv hacha vayamot ha'am al Moshe min haboker ad ha'erev. On one hand, the pasuk says that the nation stood upon Moshe from the morning till the evening. Uksiv hasam vayerev vayihi boker yom echad. So again, the same lashon of boker and erev boker. By adjudicating cases and by creation teaches us that when a person adjudicates a case in a correct and legal and just fashion, it is as if they have become a partner to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the creative process. So just to understand what's happening over here. So Rav Chisda and Rab Bar Avuna were upset because they felt that they lost out on learning, in that they were sitting and adjudicating cases the entire day. So the Gemara says, therefore Rav Chia Barav was Rav Chia Barav was trying to make them feel better by saying, no, when you adjudicate a case correctly, Chas Hashem, you're not losing out on Torah. Rather, again, you are becoming a very partner to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the creative process. We'll say the idea being that when a person helps to create justice in this world, and a person helps to settle disputes, and a person helps to restore interpersonal equilibrium by adjudicating and settling disputes between individuals, they're mamish helping to make the world a little bit better. They're advancing the cause of humanity, advancing the cause of creation. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead and says, you are my shutaf, you are my partner in my sebereishis. Let's say an incredible idea. What it's also saying is not, sometimes you see a Gemara like this and we assume that it's just talking about formal judges. But the truth is, all of us have the ability to adjudicate cases as well. We could adjudicate situations in our mishpachos, in our families. We could adjudicate situations in our marriage. We could adjudicate situations with our friends, with our children, our community. The idea being that when you see a problem, when you see something that is broken, and you take it upon yourself to try to fix it and make it better, so you are partnering with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the creative process. What was creation? Creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's a whole bunch of stuff in a jumble, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes this and puts it here, and takes the land and puts it here, and the water puts it here, and Shemayim puts it here. And when a person sees that things are jumbled and he goes ahead and takes the time to fix them, to make them a little bit better, so a person mamish becomes a shutaf, a person becomes a partner to the Ribono Shel Olam in the creative process. When you see a problem and you take it upon yourself to fix it instead of just lamenting about it, then you become a partner to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Maaseh Bereishis. Incredible. So the Gemara goes right there. The Gemara says, Amasa Yoshvin Bedin. So the Gemara says, until what time? In other words, if they start when they start din in the morning, until what time? What time does court go on recess? Right? What time do they stop? So the Gemara says, Adzman Su'uda, until the time ultimately again to eat a meal, to eat the meal. Amar Maikra, what's the pasuk that supports this? So the Gemara quotes the pasuk from Koheles. Ilach Eretz Shamal Kechnar, woe to you land whose king is a child, or a nar, a child. V'sarayach baboki yochelu, and your ministers eat in the morning. Ashrecha Eretz, but praiseworthy are you, the earth, the land. Shemalkech ben chorin, that your king is a free man. V'sarayach be'es yochelu, and your ministers eat at the right time. Bigvura, they eat in strength. V'lo bashti, and they are not humiliated. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? Bigvura shal Torah, v'lo b'shtiya shal yain. So we'll say, so the first way that we're translating this pasuk is, praiseworthy are you a land, ultimately again, whose leaders sate themselves in the strength of Torah and not with the drinking of wine. But what the Gemara is also using as far as follows. This concept that ultimately, if you look at Rashi says over here, Shemalkech dayanecha shadayin karoi melech. Shabbos say, what we're going to see is going to now open up a discussion about the timing of Su'udos. So remember, the Gemara said, when do we adjudicate a case until the time for Su'uda? Until the time for Su'uda. And we're going to see now, the question of course becomes, what's the time for Su'uda? So the Gemara is quoting the pasuk in Koheles just to say, the time for the Su'uda is not the morning. Interestingly enough, the primary meal they would eat was not breakfast. We're going to get into this right now. So therefore, again, the Gemara is saying they adjudicate cases until the time for the Su'uda. What's not the time for the Su'uda is the morning. Because again, that's the pasuk in Koheles. Woe to you, land whose king is a child and whose ministers eat in the morning. So you see that sitting down to a big meal in the morning ultimately again was not considered to be is not a good thing. So now let's analyze. Tan Rabbanan, Shari Shana Mai Chaludim. Both in the first hour of the day, who would have their meal the first hour in the day? The Ludim. Rashi points out over here, the Ludim were cannibals. Cannibals. So the cannibals apparently were very gluttonous. So because they are very gluttonous, they could not wait to eat during the day, and therefore they would eat in the first hour of the day. So Shnia, the second hour of the day, Maichalistim. That's when thieves eat. So why do thieves eat? Because generally thieves are up the entire night stealing. So now gets a person hungry an entire night of being out for an entire night of theft. So they would go ahead and eat on the second on the second hour. Shlishis, what about the third hour of the day? Michael Yarshin. So this is interesting. So who eats the third hour of the day? People who have inherited a lot of money. So apparently people who have inherited a lot of money don't have a day job. You don't have to really run anywhere. So Baruch Hashem, they could sit down 3 hours into the day, have a nice big breakfast. Revius Machal Poalim. The fourth hour into the day is when workers would eat. So remember again, because just so you appreciate, workers historically would begin to eat at sunrise. So they would begin to work sunrise. So they would go ahead, or sometime immediately afterwards. So that by the fourth hour into the day, they were well into their work day already. They would go ahead and eat then. Chamishis Michael Kol Adam. Fifth hour is when regular people eat. So the fifth hour into the day is when regular people eat. The Gemara says, Ini, is that so? V'hamra Papa, Revius Zman Suda L'chol Adam. Yet Papa says that what? The fourth hour is the Zman Suda. That's when everybody eats. Fourth hour was considered to be a normative time that everyone eats. So the Gemara says, Ella, you're right. Revius Michael Kol Adam. Regular people normally eat in the fourth hour. Chamishis Michael Poalim. Workers would eat in the fifth hour. Shishis Michael Talmid Chacham. Talmidei Chachamim would eat at the sixth hour. So we'll say sixth hour would be when Tamid Chum. So therefore, again, looping back, so the Gemara says, when do judges adjudicate cases until the time for Su'udah? What's the time for Su'udah? So the time for Su'udah ultimately is the 6th hour. Mikan ve'elech kizorek even lechemas. We'll say, but if you delay eating until after the 6th hour, it's like throwing a stone into an empty bucket. So ultimately, again, Rashi says what this means is lo kasha v'lo yafa. So apparently, if you wait too long to eat, then eating doesn't have the same positive effects on the body. So Rashi says, if you wait too long, then ultimately, again, you lose some of the nutritional benefit of consumption of a meal. Amar Abaye, lo amran ela de lo ta'amidi b'tzafra. When is this true that if you wait until after the 6th hour to eat, so your meal is like throwing a stone into an empty bucket? That's only if you didn't eat something in the morning. However, aval ta'amidi b'tzafra. But if you did eat something in the morning, then less lanba. Then even if you didn't eat your primary meal until sometime later on, ultimately, again, it's going to be okay. What's an interesting discussion now? Davening in the bathhouse. Davening in the bathhouse. Rav Adabar Ava says that a person is permitted to daven in the bathhouse. Really? If a person walks into the bathhouse, so let's remember again, the bathhouse had different rooms. So the Gemara says, Makom shebnei adam omdim levushim. So we'll say, when you come into the exterior room, so the exterior room in the bathhouse, Rashi points out, well, first of all, look at Rashi, Merchatzos, Shalohan Gimel Chadarim Hayu. So Talmudic bathhouses had 3 rooms. What were the 3 rooms? Rashi says, Panimi lahaziyah l'shtatev. So the innermost room, that's the room where the shvitz, the sauna was, and that's the room where the actual bath, that's where you washed. Emtsai sheyorei l'socho min hamerchatz v'lo beish chaluko. So we'll say the middle room, ultimately again, that's when you descend into after you come out of the bath and you put on your garments. The yotzi l'chitzon v'gomer libashasam. And again, I guess you would get partially dressed in the middle room and then continue getting dressed in the outer room. So watch this. So now says the Gemara, nichnas lebeis hamerchatz. So if you're in it sounds like the exterior room, where everybody's dressed, yesha mikra utfila beintrach lomar shela shalom. So we'll say, so in that exterior room where everybody's dressed, so you could learn, you could daven, you could say shalom aleichem. We'll say, remember again, shela shalom means greeting people with the name of Hashem. So when you say shalom aleichem, that is the usage of the Ribono Shel Olam's name in greeting another person. Umaniach tefillin, you could put on tefillin. And certainly if you're already wearing them, you need not take them off. So we'll say that seems to be an exterior room. So right in the most exterior room, pretty much you could do anything and everything. Next, makom shevnei adam omdim arumim ulavushin. We'll say, what about like the middle room, where people are in a state of being clothed and unclothed, right? What happens there? So the Gemara says, interestingly enough, yesham shela shalom. There you could still say Shalom Aleichem also. Vein sham mikro tefillah, but you shouldn't learn there, you shouldn't daven there. Ve'ino chol leitz tefillin, and if you're already wearing tefillin, you need not take it off. Ve'ino maniah lechatchila, but you also should not put them on lechatchila. Now what happens? We're making our way through the bathhouse. So we started in the exterior room, we then went into the middle room, now we're in the innermost room. Makom shebnei adam omdim arumim. What happens if you come into the bathhouse in a place where people are mamish unclothed? Ein sham she'ilas shalom ve'in tzarach lomar mikra utfila. So we'll say in that place, ultimately again, there's no greeting, there's no mikra, there's no learning, there's no davening, and if you're wearing tefillin, you have to take them off. And certainly you can't put them on the chatchila. So we'll say, so therefore again, remember how this whole thing started. Rav Adavar Ava made a statement that a person could daven in the Beis Hamerchatz, in the bathhouse. Now the Gemara is saying that's not true. Then you could daven in parts of the and Rav Adavar Ava's statement makes it sound like you could daven anywhere in the bathhouse. But now we're seeing that ultimately again that's not true. Maybe you could daven in certain places in the bathhouse, but certainly not just anywhere. To which the Gemara says you're right. The Gemara says, Ki kam Rav Adavar Ava b'merchatz she'in bo adam. What does Rav Adavar Ava mean? He means in a merchatz where there's no one there. If there's no one in the merchatz, then einach hinami, you can go ahead and daven there. Is that true? Rabbi Yossi brachanina merchat sha'amru afapi she'im bo adam. So I'll say, when we talk about the fact that you can't daven in a merchatz, that's true even if no one's there. In other words, a merchatz has the din of a merchatz even if no one's in there. So ultimately, again, you still shouldn't be able to daven there. Beis hakisei sha'amru afapi she'im bo tzoa. Similar again, about say a bathroom, right? A beis hakisei, even if there's no actual excrement there, it still has the din of a beis hakisei, and therefore halacha lamaisa should not be davened in eloki kam Rav Ada bechadati. Rather, what Rav Ada Rav is talking about is a brand new bathhouse. Now, what does mean a brand new bathhouse? A brand new bathhouse that no one has ever used before. No one's ever used it, so it's been built, but it's never been used. Yeah, never been utilized. So that's what Rav Ada says, because it's never been utilized. Therefore, what? Therefore, halacha lamaisa, you are permitted to go ahead and daven there. Is that true? Says the Gemara. Is that true? So but we asked this question. By the Rabina, his mina lebeis hakisei mau yesh zimun o ein zimun v'lo ifshitilei. Here, we asked this question by a bathroom. What happens if a person has a beis hakisei, a person has a bathroom that was designated as a bathroom but never used yet? So can you go ahead and halacha lemaisa daven there if at the end of the day it's been designated and never used, and yet we never answered that particular question? To which the Gemara says, Lav hu adin lamerchatz. So we'll say, doesn't the same shaila apply to a merchatz as well? To which the Gemara says, Lo, Dilma Amud Beis will say, Dilma Shiny Beis Hakisei Dimois. So we'll say it's possible to say that halacha lemaisa, maybe a bathroom is different. Since a bathroom by definition is a more quote unquote, ma'is means literally disgusting or repulsive place. So it's possible to say the following. Maybe a bathroom, even if it's just been designated but hasn't yet been used, you can't daven there. But maybe a beis hamerchatz, maybe a bathhouse, which is not as repulsive as a beis hakisei, maybe there's room to say that if it's been designated but not yet used, that should actually be permitted to go ahead and daven in every part of it. Okay, so that's a distinction ultimately again that the Gemara is making. So the Gemara goes weiter. In Sham Sheila Shalom. So let's remember again. So we discussed it in the innermost chamber of the Beis Hakisei, of the Beis Hamerchatz, of the bathhouse. You cannot greet people with Shalom Aleichem. Right, very important. So we'll say in the two outer chambers, we'll call it the outer chamber, the middle chamber. You could say Shalom Aleichem to someone. Shalom, even though this is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the innermost chamber, you cannot go ahead and say Shalom Aleichem because that is the name of Hashem. Mesele Rav Hamnuna, Mishmeidulo, the Amar. Asra the Adam Shiitin Shalom Lechavera Beis Hamerchatz. So we'll say this supports the position of Ula, who says that a person is not permitted to give Shalom, to say Shalom Aleichem to his friend in the bathhouse. Why? Mishum Shenemar Vayikra Lo Hashem Shalom. Because we'll say Shalom is one of the names of the Ribono Shel Olam. So because it is a name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, therefore again it should not be used in the bathhouse. In other words, Shalom is not just a description. It's not a description. It's not just an attribute of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but rather, again, Shalom ultimately is a very name of God. Therefore, again, it should not be used in the innermost chamber of the Beis HaMerchatz. If that's the case, I will say, you also should not be able to go ahead and use a lashon of Heimenusa. Now, what's Heimenusa? If you look at Rashi, Heimenusa, lahaskir emuna bebeis hakisei. You shouldn't be able to say the word emuna. Emuna. Now, emuna literally means faith. You shouldn't be able to say that in the Beis HaKisei. The Gemara is positing why is that? Because emuna is one of the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. Where do we see that? So the Gemara says, Dichsiv hakel hane'eman. Because the pasuk says, a God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, hakel hane'eman, who is trustworthy, right? Who has ne'emanos. Maybe you'll say, you're right. You shouldn't say emuna in the bathhouse either. V'hamarav bar mechasya amarav cham bar gurya amarav shari lemeimar heimenusa beis hakisei. Yet we learned also that you are permitted to say emuna in the bathroom. Hasam shem gufei lo ikri hachi. The metargaminan eloka mehemna. Hacha shem gufei ikri shalom dechsiv vayikra lo Hashem shalom. So we'll say the Gemara says they're not comparable. Emuna is a description of God. It's a description. It's an adjective, right? Hakel hane'eman is the Ribono Shel Olam who is trustworthy. The Ribono Shel Olam who comes through. The Ribono Shel Olam ultimately, again, who goes ahead and is believed. Ultimately, to go ahead and live up to his word, live up to expectations. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As opposed to Shalom, which is an actual name, Vayikra Lo Hashem Shalom. So therefore, I will say, interestingly enough, when you're in the Beis HaKisei, so apparently there's no problem to use words that are descriptors of God. The problem is ultimately using an actual name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But what we begin to see is that halacha l'maisa, so ultimately, again, Shalom is an actual name of the Ribono Shel Olam, and therefore, again, cannot be used in the Beis HaKisei itself. So the Gemara goes weiter. The Gemara says, Va'amar Rava bar Mechazia, Amar Rav Chanan bar Guria, Amar Rav, Hanosin matara lechavero, tzarach lo dio. So we'll say, amazingly enough, so now, a beautiful Gemara, I'll tell you the Hashgacha Pratis. I actually quoted, I didn't realize this, but I quoted this Gemara on Shabbos, realizing it was from Shabbos, but thinking that it was much later on in the Masechta. An incredible Gemara. If we have time, I'll tell you the context. If not, we'll save it for a different time. Amar Rava bar Mechasya, Amar Rav Chanan bar Guria, Amar Rav. Hanosin matana lechavero tzarach lo dio. That's beautiful. When you give a gift to someone, you must inform them about the gift. So when you give a gift to someone, you have to inform them that you're giving them a gift. Shene'emar ladas ki ani Hashem mekadeschem. To know that I am Hashem who consecrates you. Tayina mihachi, a brayso that supports this. Tayina mihachi ladas ki ani Hashem. So just understand the pasuk. Ladas, that you should know ki ani Hashem mekadeschem. I am God who sanctifies you. So the sanctification that God gives us is the gift. That's the gift. I will say, right? The greatest gift that one could receive in life is the Kedusha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows upon us. It is mamish, the gift that keeps on giving. The greatest gift in the world is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us Kedusha. And what does the pasuk say? Ladas. We have to know, which means we have to be cognizant of the gift we are receiving from God. So God tells us, I want you to know the gift I am giving you. I want you to know the gift that I am giving you. So we'll say, see from here, that when you give someone a gift, they should know that the gift is coming from you. That supports this. So we'll say, what does this mean? Know that I am God who has been Mekadesh you. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMoshe. This is both a beautiful Gemara. Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Mataran Tov yesh li beis Genazai. I have a beautiful gift, a good gift in my treasure houses, the Shabbos Shema. And the name of this gift is Shabbos. V'ani mevakesh litna li Yisrael, and I want to give this gift to the Jewish people. Lech v'hodi'im. Go and tell them about this gift. Mikan Amr Reb Shimon Gamliel. So you see from here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, I'm not just going to give them the gift, but rather go and tell them about the gift. I want them to understand and to know that I'm giving them this gift. I want them to be aware of the gift. So just to understand this on a very simple level. Why is it that when you give a gift, the recipient should know? So we'll say, remember again, for example, when it comes to tzedakah, so the highest level of tzedakah is when you go out and you give it quietly and anonymously. So remember again, the goal of the gift is to build a relationship. If I give you something, that means that I love you. That means that I care about you. You see that you're important to me. That's why I'm giving you something. But if I give you something and you don't know that it's for me, then those bonds of unity are not built. So Kadosh Baruch Hu models this. I want to give Shabbos to Klal Yisrael. Don't just plop down Shabbos in front of them, but rather tell them that I'm giving them something. Tell them that I'm giving them something special. So this way, again, the relationship, the love is fostered and built. So the Gemara learns this as a model, that when you give something to someone, ultimately, make sure they know that it's coming from you, so that they should see that you care about them, that you love them, that you're important to them, and that's why you're going out of your way to give them a gift. Mikan Arub Shimon Gamliel. So for basis, Reb Shimon Gamliel said, Hanosin pas latinok. If one gives a loaf of bread to a child, tzarech lahodia li'imo. You should make sure that the mother of the kid knows that you gave the kid a gift. I will say the idea being, so a parent knows that when someone does something good for your child, you're forever indebted to that person. So if you're going to go ahead and give the child a loaf of bread, so make sure that the parent knows, the mother knows that you gave her kid a loaf of bread. So the Gemara says, "My avele." So I say, so how is it? Remember again, anyone, all of us know that sometimes when people give our children messages, very often those messages do not quite make it to us. So if I'm going to give the child a loaf of bread and I want the mother to know, I want the father to know that I gave their child something. So how do I do that? How do I ensure that they know? So the Gemara says, "My avidle, Amar Abaye, shayif le mishcha umale le kochla." To which the Gemara says, interesting idea. So I'll say, if you look at Rashi says, put a little smear of oil in between the kid's eyes. So the kid's going to go home. Mother's going to say, what's that? Right? What's the oil doing between your eyes? And the child will say, oh, Silber gave me a loaf of bread. Or go ahead, malei kuchle, put a little bit of makeup around the kid's eye. Right? In other words, do something discernible and recognizable to the child. So the mother goes home, the child goes home, the mother's going to say, no, what happened to you over here? And the child's going to say, oh, that's because Plony gave me something. Here's the loaf of bread. Here's the gift that he gave me. So the Gemara says, and I will say today that people are a bit skittish regarding sorcery. And if you start applying oil to the head of children or makeup around their eye, people might think that you're casting some type of spell, right? So therefore, I will say that, what should you do in order, if you give the child a gift, that the parents should know that you gave the child the gift? Amar Papa, sha'if leme osahamin. So Papa says, what you do is you take some of the very item that you're giving to the child and you rub it on the child. So I will say, so like if it's you give, for example, you're giving the child the food item, you take a little bit of the food item and you smear it on the child's face. So whatever way you can make some type of recognizable simon on the child, this way the parent will ask and the child will answer. Good. So is this so? Rav Chama bar Chanina. Hanosin matana lechaveira intzarch lo dio. Here, Rabbi, we learned elsewhere that if you give a gift to your friend, you don't have to tell him about the gift. Where do we know that from? Rabbi said this past week's parsha. Shene Amar uMoshe lo yada ki karan arpanav b'dabro ito. Moshe Rabbeinu was unaware that his face had become luminescent as a result of dialoguing, of speaking with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Moshe Rabbeinu's face radiates light, and apparently he became totally unaware regarding the light. So you see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him this gift of light, and yet what? Moshe Rabbeinu was unaware. So it would appear that one would not be obligated to go ahead and tell his friend about the gift. Lo kasha habe milsa davida legeluye. So we'll see, interestingly enough, it depends on the gift. If it's a gift whose origin, whose giver will become known, then the giver need not go ahead and explicitly say that he's giving the gift. But it's a gift whose origin and whose giver will not become known, then einach you have to divulge the information. So also, the idea being, Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't tell Moshe Rabbeinu about the luminescence radiating from his face, because other people will tell Moshe. Moshe will find it out from elsewhere. So therefore, Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't have to say something because it's going to become known anyway. So the Gemara says, Shabbos Davida Lugaluye. But one second, Shabbos, right? Shabbos will become known. Yet why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to go ahead and tell Moshe Rabbeinu? So why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to tell Klal Yisrael? Matan schara lo avil legiluye. Ultimately, again, the reward for Shabbos will not become known. So although Shabbos itself would be known, the reward for Shabbos would not be known, and therefore halacha l'maisa, HaKadosh Baruch Hu felt compelled to go ahead and tell Moshe. So Rav Chisda will say, let's just do another line. Rav Chisda have a nakit biadei tarti masnasa de Torah. So I'll say ultimately again, Rav Chisda was holding in his hand two matnos kuna. Rabbi will say actually, let's do one more line. So Rav Chisda was holding in his hand two matnos kuna. Rav Huna was a Kohen. He was a Kohen. And he had two Kohanic portions, ultimately again from an animal. From two oxen. Masnasa de Torah. Amar, Komanda Asiva Amar Lishmaisa Sachadata Mishmeiderav Yavin Ale Nehile. And he said, whoever could come along and tell me some brand new teaching of Rav that I never heard before, I'll give him these two Kohanic portions. So both say, Rav Chisda was a Talmud of Rav, and he loved to hear the teachings of his Rebbe. So here he has these two beautiful pieces of meat that are Kohanic portions. So he says, whoever could come and teach me two new ideas from Rav, I'll give him these two beautiful pieces of meat. Amrli Rava bar Mechasya Haki Amar Rav. This is what Rav said. Hanosin matana lechadero tzarich lodio. When you give a gift to your friend, you must tell him that you are giving the gift in order that what? In order that halacha lemaisa, bonds of friendship are fostered. Shneimar ladas ki ani Hashem mekadeschem. That you should know that I am Hashem who sanctifies you. Seyav nehele. So Rabbi said Rav Chisda loved it. Rav Chisda loved it, and therefore he gave Rava bar Mechasya one piece of meat. Great job. Here's the right. You gave me a teaching of Rav. Here's the piece of meat. Amar chavivan alacha shmaisesa derav kulihai. So Rabbi says, so ultimately Rava bar Mechasya says to Rav Chisda, wow, you love the teachings of Rav so much. I was like, can you imagine going ahead and loving Torah so much that you're willing to give someone money? You're willing to give someone a piece of meat if they tell you something you never heard before. So the Gemara says, Amar lei in, to which Rav Chisda said, yes, I love that the teachings of Rav are very near and dear to me. Amar lei, so we'll say, so Rava bar Mechasya says, Hainu da Amar Rav, so this reminds me of another teaching of Rav, Milsa al Bishayhu Yakira. If you look at Rashi, Rashi's right across. Milsa Abishayo Yakira, Rashi says, Mi'il Dama Vikara Lemisharagya Lelovsha. Kilomar Lefisha Ata Tamido Sharav, Vragam Bishmuasav, Ata Machsra Alehem. So Rashi says this, so Rav Chisda, Rava bar Mechasya said, this is like the expression. What's the expression? That someone who has an appreciation for fine fabrics enjoys fine clothing. So you who are a Talmid of Rav have a profound appreciation of the Torah of Rav, and therefore ultimately you're willing to even go ahead and spend money to acquire the teachings of Rav. Amar le, Amar Rav Hachi Basrai, Amar le, Amar Rav Hachi, and he said to him, so Rav Chisda said, yes, this indeed is a statement of Rav. So in other words, I will say, people who appreciate fine things in life ultimately go ahead and try to pursue those things. So there are some people who appreciate fine clothing, they pursue fine clothing. Some people who appreciate fine food, they go after fine food. Some people appreciate fine wine, they go after fine wine. And some people, you know who I'm talking to, right? And some people go ahead and appreciate fine Torah, and they go after fine Torah. So ultimately, again, Rav Chisda says, yes, I appreciate the Torah of my Rebbe, and therefore I'm willing to go ahead and pay for it. So he says, this last statement of Rav is even better than the first statement, and he gives him the second piece of meat. And if I had more meat, if I had more Kohanic portions, I would even give those to you. I will say the incredible musar and lesson from this last exchange is, it's telling what we spend our money on and what we would be willing to go ahead and give something for. That, so, like I said, some people spend money on fine clothing, some people spend money on fine food. We all spend money on different things. But the shaila is, how much money would we spend to get a good vart, right? How much money would I spend to go ahead and get a good ha'ara, a good idea? So ultimately, again, the beauty of this Gemara, Rav Chisda, a Talmud so connected to his Rebbe that mamish he would give anything just to hear something new, novel, and beautiful from his Rebbe. I will say, we'll stop over here for today. I just want to tell you, it's amazing. We had, I think, and now it looks like 64 people on the Zoom chat. There were another, I think, 23, 24 people on the YouTube stream. And I will say, incredible. So all close to 100 people, Baruch Hashem, over the course of this first morning, and I have no doubt that it's going to grow. I just want to give all of you an incredible yashar koach. This is not what any of us want. None of us want this. What we want to give just to be together. But Baruch Hashem, I know that the Rebbe Shalom was looking down at us, and he's seeing that mamish, nothing stops us. I both say, how incredible as we see this Gemara. Rav Chisda was willing to give away his pieces of meat. The truth is, today would have been an incredible opportunity to catch up on some much needed sleep. There's nowhere to be until work starts. And yet, ultimately, again, we've given up sleep in order to be able to continue our learning together, our connection together, our friendship together. Because like Rav Chisda, we're showing that Torah is important to us. Chadosh Baruch Hu should see the incredible Dveikus, Chaverim, 100 Jews strong, learning together, growing together, staggering together in Halavai. It should be a zechus for us in these trying and challenging times. Wishing everyone an incredible, meaningful, and successful day. And Amir Hashem, looking forward to continuing our shir tomorrow. Please stay tuned because we're going to be doing some other online learning options, and this is really great to be able to see everyone. Is really fantastic, really beautiful. I want to again thank Maishi and Jeremy for creating all of the technology that enables us to do this, and just wishing everyone an incredible day. Yashar koach, and see everyone tomorrow.